In December of 2022, I stopped doing sales calls and I gave up objection handling forever as well. And it made me more money. Even though my closing rate or conversion rate went from 78.7% closing on sales calls to about 52% in the DMs. My monthly revenue increased from about 15 to 20K per month to 20 to 30K per month. And in this video here, I'm going to show you and walk you through the reasons why objection handling or giving up objection handling could be one of the best decisions that you ever make this year. So if you don't know me, my name is Andrew Holmes. I ran a fitness coaching business called Weight Loss Warriors for about 6 years, and I averaged 20 to 30K per month with no sales calls, no team, and only about 4 hours of work per day. And on this channel here, I break down all the systems and strategies that made that possible so that you can build a highly profitable, freedom-first business for yourself as well. Now in this video here, I want to really focus on objection handling and why it's probably costing you money. And I know that sounds really counterintuitive and it goes against everything that the gurus preach, but I promise you that by the end of this video here, you're going to see my understanding. So the first thing I want to make clear is that I did not give up objection handling because I sucked at it. When I first started my fitness business back in 2018, January 2018, sales calls were like the only option. Nobody else even talked about selling in the DMs or selling by chat. Every single mentor that I've worked with over the years taught sales calls as well. None of them taught selling in the DMs. So going through that journey, starting my business, I felt like I had to get really good at sales calls if I wanted to make money. I felt like I had no other option if I wanted to make sales, if I wanted more clients. So I obsessed over getting insanely good at sales calls, which meant I also got scary good at objection handling as well. I remember my motto on sales calls, or before I would go into a sales call, my motto used to be, you're either gonna buy or you're gonna hang up, but I'm not gonna get off the phone until one of those outcomes happens. And as you can imagine, you might guess, I got hung up on quite a few times, but not nearly as much as you might think, because I was really good at objection handling. So from 2018, when I started my business, January 2018 until December 2022, when I gave up sales calls, I took 387 sales calls. And of those calls, my average closing rate was about 78.7%. I would estimate probably on average about half of those sales calls went through some sort of objection handling. So how I approached objection handling is I had my objection handling script. I had a separate document. It was 23 pages long of objection handling. And I had memorized this entire thing. I actually opened up this document the other day and had a look at this, and this thing is wild. I will never ever release this document to anybody, not even to coaching clients, and I should probably just delete this off my system because in the wrong hands, this objection handling script could be dangerous. And that is because, well, most people, hopefully most people anyways, most people use sales as a good thing, right? To sign more clients, to help more people. But in the wrong hands, with the wrong intentions, sales can be kind of bad too if you're going to use it to sell some shady shit. So on this objection handling script that I had memorized, I had quick answers for everything. I had a solution, a comeback, a technique for anything that anybody could say. I could logic trap anybody. I could loop them through different objections until I would get them to the one that I wanted to handle. I had reframes for everything. I was a fucking savage on sales calls. I got so good at sales calls that one of the business mentors that I had originally hired, that I had paid to help me grow my business, actually ended up hiring me to teach sales calls to all of his clients because of the skill level I had developed with sales calls. Now, I tell you that not to brag, and I tell you that because I want you to understand that even though I was so good at it, even though I got to that level of skill with sales calls, it still wasn't a good choice in my business, at least long term. So what that meant, what my skill level at sales calls meant is that the front end conversion rates of my business were incredible. I was closing 78.7% of people that came through my pipeline, right? But the back end of my business fucking sucked. And I'm ashamed to admit this, but the back end of my business was a real problem. And the reason was I was so good at sales, I was pushing everybody into my business. But that meant that I pushed in a lot of people who were not a good fit. People that should never have been joining my coaching program, at least not at that time when I signed them up. So what that meant is a lot of buyer's remorse. People buying, signing up, and then regretting it almost immediately. which led to a lot of refund requests, credit card chargebacks, clients giving up after doing nothing in the first month, low engagement in my client communities because people didn't want to be there. There was a very low renewal rates, very low referral rates, very low average client lifetime values, basically just all the big problems that you don't want to have in a business that makes running, building, and scaling a business very difficult and very stressful. So it meant that I had this constant client hamster wheel where if I brought anybody in, they wouldn't stay very long. They would leave just as quickly, and I have to find somebody else to replace them. It just makes for a very stressful business cycle where you're constantly chasing new clients. And this is what I call a sales-driven business, where the business and its growth are reliant on the sales process and the closing conversion rate. And this can work. It did work. The question is, for how long is it going to work? So I ran that sales-driven business from 2018 until the end of 2022. And throughout that process, I still reached 20K months with that sales-driven process. But like I said, it was extremely stressful and it led to a lot of problems. So I have talked about in other videos how in 2022 I started going through this shift or this journey of restructuring my business and changing all my processes because I wanted to reduce stress. I wanted to reduce working time. I wanted to make operating and scaling and building my business more fun, more enjoyable, more sustainable, so I could finally enjoy some freedom after 4 years of chaos and hustle and grind. And part of that process, part of that shift in my business was giving up sales calls and beginning to only sell in the DMs through the chat. And along with that process, along with giving up sales calls, I also decided to give up objection handling. I said I'm no longer going to do any objection handling at all, even if it's in the DMs. Now, what you might expect with that shift is that giving up sales calls, cutting out objection handling would mean less money and less cash flow for the business. And if that is your first thought, it's because you are not looking at the big picture or you're not looking at the long-term life cycle of a business. So yes, in the short term, going to a sell by chat system and cutting out objection handling did significantly reduce my conversion rate. I went from a 78.7% closing rate on sales calls to a 52% conversion rate in the DMs. But here's where it gets really, really interesting. Because I had stopped objection handling, because I stopped pushing people into my business, it meant that the people who did join my coaching program, they were ready to be there. They were ready to make the commitment. They were ready to join on their own terms, not on mine. I wasn't pushing them into the business. I was giving them an opportunity to join when they were ready. So while front-end conversions were down, what did this mean long-term? It meant almost zero refund requests. I literally had no more credit card chargebacks after at that point. The average length that members would stay in the program increased by 3 months, which meant a much higher client lifetime value. Renewal rates went up. More people were referring their friends and their family as well. And my coaching program, which was stuck at about between 50 to 60, low 60s active clients in the early to mid 2022, skyrocketed up to 180 active clients by the peak of my program in October of 2023. So a little over a year and a half-ish, we'll call it. We went from 60-ish clients to 180 active clients. The business tripled, right? For client-wise. Now, I also went from averaging about 15K per month at the very beginning of 2022 to then being between mid-2022 and March of 2024. So about a little less than 2 year period there, I averaged 20K to 30K per month. So profits and revenue increased as well, even though front-end conversions decreased, right? So it's the back end of the business that really drives your profits and your revenue and your sustainability in the business. So even though client numbers were much higher as well, I tripled the business, right? I went from 60 active clients to 180 active clients. It was much easier to run because I had better quality clients inside the program who actually wanted to be there. I wasn't fighting with people all the time. I wasn't babysitting people all the time. People were coming in at a point in their life when they were committed to make a change. They didn't need me to chase after them all the time. They didn't need me to hold them accountable every single day, right? On top of that, it improved the community aspect as well. The client community that I had built was extremely engaged, which meant most of the people in the community would hold each other accountable. They would support each other, which was a lot less work for me because they were doing it themselves. It was like a self-managed community. So to sum it all up, I don't think sales should be high pressure if you want a fun business that you enjoy operating. Operating a sales-driven business might create more customers on the front end, but it doesn't create good customers. It doesn't create customers that want to stay. So my suggestion for you is, if you want a business that you enjoy, you want clients that you love interacting with, you want an engaged community inside your program, stop objection handling. Now, there's a couple reasons for this. Not only because it's going to increase your client lifetime value, the length that they stay with you and your community as well. It's not a good image for you, right? If you're doing a lot of objection handling, it comes across as needy or desperate, or at the very least, it comes across as pushy or salesy or sleazy. None of those things are a good look for you if you want to position yourself as a high status coach, if you want a lot of authority in your industry, in your niche, right? So that is how giving up objection handling can make you more money. But one thing I want to get really clear on here, a point that I really want to dive in here as well before I wrap up, is that when I say give up objection handling, when I say it, I don't mean never ever address any prospects or leads' concerns. Don't ever answer their questions. I don't mean that. I don't mean just shut them out if they don't buy immediately. So of course, you always still want to answer anybody's questions. You still want to answer anybody's concerns that they might have. You want to still help them make a decision for themselves. Just don't be pushy about it. Don't try to overcome objections to push them into making a sale. So if they do give you an objection, it's simply a sign that they're not ready yet at this time. It doesn't mean that they're never going to be ready. It doesn't mean that they're never going to buy. It's just right now is not the right time for them. So don't try to push them when they're not ready, because you're either going to create a bad client or you're going to push them away completely. So if they do give you objections, here are my suggestions. First of all, just don't freak out. If they give you an objection, stay calm and just give them the space to make the decision themselves on their own time. So if they say, I need to think about it, just say, no problem, take your time. Let me know when you're ready. If they say, I needed to go talk to my spouse first, or I need to okay with this with my husband or my wife, whatever it is, cool. Let me know your decision after you have a chance to speak with them. If they say, I can't afford that, or that's too expensive, no problem. Let me know if I can help you in the future whenever you're in a better financial position. Simple as that. Be non-needy about it. This is the way to go. And if they aren't ready at that time, that's fine. Let them go. Stop wasting your time on that lead or that prospect and go find a new lead who is ready to commit. If you do this, I promise you, you will have a much less stressful business that doesn't destroy your mental peace or make you feel like a slimy salesperson every single day. So hopefully that all makes sense. That is my plead, my case, my belief shift and argument for you to hopefully at least consider giving up objection handling too, so that you can build a better business for yourself that you actually enjoy operating. By the way, if you would like my help with building a sell by chat system in your business so that you can sign clients in the DMs without sales calls, without objection handling, I would love to help you make that reality for yourself as well. So what I would like to do is invite you to join me in Category Kings, where I will personally help you create a system in your business that does all this for you, that is a marketing driven business that brings leads to you pre-sold already. And it's going to significantly increase your conversion rates in the DMs so that you can sign clients in the DMs with a simple Google sales doc without a sales call and without any objection handling and without getting a lot of no's or getting ghosted all the time. So if you're interested in that, or you want to know anything more about my Category Kings mentorship program, I will drop some links below in the description here for you to check out. And if you have any questions at all about this video or any of the documents below, just hit me up on Instagram or email. I'll drop those links below as well. Besides that, I think that's everything I wanted to cover. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later, my friend.